The Haliburton Lake Cottage Association has maintained navigation markers on Haliburton Lake since the lake was first developed in the 1950s. Haliburton Lake presents some unique challenges because its water rises in the spring and then falls throughout the summer by an average of 5 feet each year. The falling water in the late summer exposes hazards where previously in the spring there was safe passage. This not only created the need for the navigation buoys in the first place, but it also presents some ongoing challenges in maintaining them. In the winter, Haliburton Lake, like most of the lakes in southern Ontario, freezes over, and any markers left in the water can be crushed by the ice, run over by snowmobiles, or dragged off into the unknown as the sheets of ice holding them drift off in the spring. We introduced the markers you're seeing a few years ago. They are definitely easier to handle than the previous large ones, and readily put in and taken out from a small boat. However, they do present their own challenges. The design itself requires heavy chain to make it float upright. When the chains are new, they work just fine. But as the chains rust, they lose weight, and in as little as 3 years, they are no longer heavy enough to pop the markers up. Remember, as the water level falls over the course of the summer, the chains need to be adjusted. This is accomplished fairly easily, but it is not only an additional chore that has to be done several times over the course of summer, it's also extremely messy. This galvanized chain that is presenting all these problems itself is expensive and represents roughly 50% of the cost of markers. Rust is also a problem in the 12-inch eye bolt, and to replace them with stainless steel eye bolts would cost roughly $40 for each float. To deal with these challenges, I've redesigned the buoys so that they do not require this 12-inch eye bolt, they do not require a heavy anchor chain, and they do not need to be adjusted for varying water levels. Their much simpler design means that the markers are easier and cheaper for volunteers to make. In this video, I will show you what you need and how to assemble these new markers. The markers are made out of 4-inch PVC sewer pipe. In addition, for each marker, you'll have to buy the following PVC hardware. Again, it's all to fit the 4-inch pipe. Here's an end cap and a clean out fitting. You see it has threads, internal threads on the one end and a sleeve on the other end. And a cap to fit the clean out fitting. You'll find they come in various styles. This one has a nice beefy square top, which I prefer because as you can see, we're going to have to drill a hole in here, and we want the thing to be fairly solid. This is the hardware you'll need to buy. It's stainless steel so that it doesn't rust. First, an eye bolt. This is a 5/16 eye bolt, and the length isn't critical, but it doesn't need to be any more than 2 or 3 inches. A couple of stainless steel washers, and importantly, a stainless steel lock nut. This is the one with the little nylon insert that keeps it from working loose. When the markers are done, I paint them red, green, or yellow as required, and usually I only paint them down to the water line. There's no point painting the part that you can't see. Prior to painting them, I find if you wipe them down with acetone, it gets the whatever grease or film is off them quite effectively, and the paint tends to adhere a little better. To keep your markers from sinking in case they spring a leak or get hit by a boat, you'll need a short length of pool noodle. Finally, for ballast in your markers, you'll need 5 or 6 pounds of rocks. These ones I just picked up along the shore. PVC pipe comes in 10-foot lengths. So what you have to do first is cut it in half, because we want to end up with a 5-foot long piece of pipe. As you can see, I've already cut this one to 5 feet. So one 10-foot length of pipe will give you enough material to do 2 markers. So the first step is to glue the ends on this pipe. So we take the cap, and I'll glue it to this end, and the cleanout fitting to the other end. Now, when I first started making these, I got in the habit of using PVC primer for the gluing up, and I've had good luck ever since. So I've continued using the primer, but I think it is an option. So this is just the primer. And now you put on the glue. Now this end of the pipe has to be airtight, so I think you can be fairly liberal with the glue here, because you want to end up with an airtight seal. Get it all the way around. I'd like to have lots of glue here because I want it airtight. A little more here. Now with this glue, if you've never done it before, you push them together, and as you push it together, you give it a twist. And you get about a 1/4 turn in before it locks up. That's it. Now we glue the clean out in on the other end of the pipe. Same with the primer. Now this joint is going to be underwater in the final, when the marker is in service, so it's really, this one doesn't have to be water or airtight. It just has to stay on there. So you don't have to be as fussy. Now when you're putting the glue on this one, you want to be careful not to get any in on the threads, because they have to be able to function when we're done. There, now same routine. Push on and twist. There. Now, you just set this aside few hours for the glue to set, and I like to set it with this end up, so that if any glue runs out, it doesn't run onto my threads. Now when you cut your 10-foot pipe in half, you'll find that one end of the pipe is flared, so that they could join them together if they wanted to. So what we need to do is get a different type of clean out fitting. This one is a female type that goes on the outside of the pipe, and this one is a male type where the collar goes inside. So if you're making more than one marker, remember to get one of each type of clean out fitting. Now we have to drill some holes in our end cap here. First, I drill a 5/16 hole to receive the 5/16 eye bolt right in the center. There. Next, I'm going to drill 4 3/8 diameter holes around the perimeter of the inside of the cap. Now, when I've done this before and forced the drill and split the end cap, so I like to support it now with a block of wood so that I don't split the plastic. Now it's time to put the eye bolt into the end cap here. So first you put one nut, probably the nut that came with it, on the eye bolt, and then a washer, and these are all stainless steel so they don't rust. And another washer on the inside, and then this is where you use the little nylon lock nut. Put it on the inside. And then just tighten it up. There. That's it. Okay, now it's time to put the contents inside the markers. First, I put a length of pool noodle go in first. That's just safety in case the thing does fill up with water. It will always float. Then I put inside 5 or 6 pounds of rocks. Try to get roundish rocks. You could always buy bags of river rock at the hardware store. These are just ones I picked up on the shore. But you want round ones so that they don't end up blocking the holes in the lid. 6 pounds of rocks if you're using a polypropylene rope anchor. You could probably get away with 5 pounds of rocks if you're using chain for an anchor. So we just put the rocks in. There. Now we can put the lid on. Again, they come with a little plastic washer, which I leave on there because it makes it easier to sort of snug it up and stay tight. There it is. Now we'll tighten that up. There. That's it. Now before I paint the markers, I give them a wipe down with acetone. It cleans off the printing, and it also cleans up the surface of the marker to receive the paint. In this case, I'm not actually going to put painting it. These are going to be white, so I just want to get the printing off. There, as I said, I'm not going to be painting these. These are no-wake markers. So we had a local sign shop make these stickers up with slow no-wake on them. So I'll be applying these on either side of the marker like that, and then a reflective orange stripe around the top and around the bottom. So we'll end up with a marker that looks like that. Now this is orange reflective tape. On the red markers, and the green markers, and the yellow markers, you need red, green, and yellow reflective tape. I've really had trouble finding reflective tape in those colors. But if you go to a sign shop, they have this reflective material which is available in any color you want and is really durable. On a painted marker, the Department of Transport regulations require the marker to be, or the reflective band to be 4 inches wide. So I get it made up in 4-inch widths by the sign shop and then just apply it up at the top end here after it's painted. So here I've got all the stickers applied and the markers are totally finished. I'm actually quite pleased with them. Getting the lettering done in a print shop, the sign shop looks very professional as opposed to me painting them on by hand, so they look rather spiffy. One of the advantages of this anchor is that it only requires light polypropylene rope for an anchor chain. It doesn't need the heavy chain like my previous markers. When it comes time to launch it, you just throw it in the water and let the water will flow in the bottom and it'll gradually tip itself up. If at first it doesn't float straight up and down, just pull on the rope so that the holes on the bottom end come out into the air to allow a little more water to flow in and air to flow out, and you'll soon be able to adjust it so it floats perfectly straight up and down. We have refined the Haliburton Lake Cutters Association marker buoys so that they are cheap to make and easy to maintain. Since designing our first buoys, several other associations in Haliburton have started to use them on their lakes. If your lake has underwater hazards or needs channel markers in places, perhaps you could interest your lake association in putting them out too. With this new, simpler design, the program can be readily handled by even younger volunteers. Or perhaps you could use them in front of your own property. Either way, good luck and safe boating.